Hello everyone and welcome to another episode in the series of things you may have missed in The Witcher 3. At this point we should be at about episode 40, so if you've missed any of the previous ones, feel free to check the playlist in the description. And without further delay, let's get right into the list. Starting off with a couple of small details during the ending of the game, right after defeating Eredin. The first thing you may have missed here is the fact that if you look up, you can literally see the planet with which our world is currently conjoining. There's a link between it and the Tower of the Falcon, and that is how Ciri goes up there to try and stop the White Frost. The planet is also covered in what has to be snowstorms, and this isn't an actual 3D object in the sky, it's just a drawing on the roof of the world, so to speak. But it's pretty cool nevertheless. Now the second thing you may have missed here is that Yennefer has a unique reaction if you refuse to take one of the horses before heading towards Avalach.
Grab the horse! We'll save time!
This was actually brought to my attention by a viewer called Daniel of Rivia, and initially I couldn't believe it because I had previously gone to the tower without taking a horse and I had never heard anything special from Yennefer. Well, it turns out that the line plays between taking the horses and reaching the location where Geralt admires the fighting giants.
And giants shall face giants in battle, just like the ballads.
This is not Ragnarok, not yet.
The problem is that if you're running for the objective, the line about the giants will play so quickly and there simply won't be enough time to hear Yennefer's reaction. So you have to go slower and maybe even stop to listen in order to hear it properly.
I've no idea why you refused to grab that horse. But fine, we'll do it your way. Let's go!
And giants shall face giants in battle, just like the ballads.
This is not Ragnarok, not yet.
And while on the topic of horses, at number 2, let's talk about Roach, and specifically about Roach kicking things. You probably know that the horse can in fact kick enemies. It's not a very reliable thing to do because you have to line everything up right between the point at which Roach notices the enemy and the point when his or her fear levels get too high, because then Roach will just start running. But you can get some funny moments. There was a clip I saw a while ago of Roach one-shotting Ronvid of Smallmarsh.
Let's get this over with.
However, the thing you may have missed here is that Roach can knock down werewolves, allowing you to finish them off as you would smaller enemies. I personally am not aware of a way to knock them down using Ard. Even when used in conjunction with Irden, it doesn't seem to work. By the way, that is how you knock down Bruxay for long enough in order to finish them. More on that topic in another video of mine. But when it comes to werewolves, I believe the Roach kick is the only thing in the game that allows you to bring them down and finish them off instantly, which is pretty cool. I tried kicking a bunch of other enemies, vampires, crones, gargoyles and whatnot, but so far the werewolf seems to be the only curious case. But now that I mentioned crones, let's move on to number 3. Some of you should remember that video I made about the enchanted pigs. There were quite a few interesting details there. You may also recall that I was wondering who or what is behind their actual curse, and I even speculated that the crones might be responsible. Well, it seems I may have been onto something because a viewer called Caesar shared something interesting. Inside the pig temple, on the floor, there's a drawing of a similar symbol to the one the crones placed on Anna's hand and used to control her. I suppose it could just be a weird coincidence, but if not, it may indeed be a hint that the crones were involved. The second curious and rather unfortunate detail here is that Igor the pig can eat Gaunter Odim's reward. The Horn of Plenty, I think, is the name.
Now, tell me what reward you've chosen.
Never want to go hungry again.
Sounds practical, and can be arranged.
What's this?
A Horn of Plenty. From this day forward, whenever you're hungry, reach in to find something to eat.
What now? Off to find another poor fool?
Haven't decided yet.
If you have it, and you choose to give the pig something to eat, it can eat the horn forever.
Don't know how long you've been here, but you gotta be hungry. Got something tasty for you. Guess it was tasty.
I guess I should try feeding it to Morgvarg next.
Have a bite of this. Ought to lift the curse.
But until then, we're moving on to number 4, where I have something I've been planning on mentioning for the longest time, and in fact, only part of it remains in the game today, as the other part was accidentally fixed in the next-gen edition of The Witcher 3. This detail is how I learned that these two symbols are actually not of the same thing. The one to the right, with the single snake, is the symbol of medicine. It represents the staff of Asclepius, who is the god of medicine, health, and so on, and the other one, with the double snakes and the wings, is the staff of Hermes. But apparently, due to historical mistakes, some people use the staff of Hermes incorrectly as the symbol of medicine. Now, how does this translate to The Witcher 3? Well, let's take a look at Shani. She is a medic, and she correctly has the staff of Asclepius on her necklace. However, back in the old gen edition of the game, where a lot of the motion captured cutscenes were pre-rendered, we could witness something curious. In all of these cutscenes, she was incorrectly wearing the staff of Hermes on her neck, indicating that initially CDPR had made the same mistake. Curiously enough, it must have been fixed prior to the release of the expansion, but only after the motion captured scenes were already rendered. So in gameplay and in the regular cutscenes, Shani had the right necklace in the old gen, but in the pre-rendered ones, she had the wrong one. With that said, in the next gen, 90% of the pre-rendered scenes are now done in real time, so she does have the correct necklace always. However, the old mistake can be witnessed at one other location, which is still in the game, specifically above the door of her clinic in Oxenfurt. If you take a closer look, you'll see that the wooden sign still mistakenly depicts the staff of Hermes, with the two snakes and the wings, instead of the correct one with the single snake. Okay, that's all I had for number 4. Moving on to number 5, where I have a couple of interesting locations in Velen, the purpose of which isn't exactly clear. I believe I already showed you some of the whale fossils in Velen. It was in my Gaunter Odim's body video, I believe, but there are a few other curious objects as well. The first one is the dead tree below Kyle. The tree itself is not that interesting, I suppose, but rather the large buried faces all around it. They seem to be carved from a material that isn't stone or wood. It looks like some kind of metal, though I could be wrong. There's also a small altar at the base of the tree, as well as a treasure chest which, at least on PC, cannot be accessed, unless you use console commands to glitch through the invisible wall. Sadly, there's nothing interesting inside, but if you know of anything more about the tree and the facial sculptures, do share it in the comments. And the second landmark is over here, east of Oxenfurt, where a bunch of large stones can be found, somewhat reminiscent of Stonehenge, I suppose, and there are also all kinds of curious plants and mushrooms growing on the location. A viewer of mine also pointed out that there's a drawing of a hanged witch. It is similar, actually exactly the same as the ones we see in Novigrad. I imagine the witch hunters probably think that this location is somehow associated with witchcraft, or maybe it's what the peasants think, who knows. But as for the stones and the plants, I imagine this might be an intersection of the power, as Avalach calls it. In fact, if you remember from my restored content video, he even mentioned that on one such location there used to be a circle of monoliths.
Several centuries ago, a temple dedicated to the moon stood here. Even earlier, there was a circle of monoliths. Now there is a city on this spot. You build upon the ruins of hallowed places, upon intersections of the power, and then you forget why. The ancient magic of these sites persists regardless. Is that sufficient? Does it satisfy your curiosity? Ready now?
which I believe is most definitely a reference to Stonehenge, since the Witcher books, especially the later ones, lean heavily towards British legend and myth. And again, if you have anything more to share about these stones, do let us know. And before I end this video, I saved a couple of small things I've been wanting to share for some time, but I never really found the time or place. First off, there's a bug that needs fixing. It is related to the newly introduced scaling swords, one of which is Krach's reward and the other one is the sword Hattori crafts for you. These are set to level up as you level. However, an unfortunate bug here is that if these swords are not in your inventory, they won't actually scale. So if you leave them in your stash or weapon rack and then go back to leveling, the swords will remain as you left them, and they won't even catch up to you if you reload the game. So if you insist on them leveling up with you, you have to make sure to keep them in your bag at all times. And speaking of weapon racks, if you do the little glitch in Vizima where you drop the towel and pick it up before leaving the room, you can actually put it on an armor stand at Corvo Bianco, which has the mildly creepy side effect of a part of your legs protruding from underneath the towel. Also, someone said you could put your Taxpayer diploma instead of one of the paintings.
Here,
What's this?
a diploma. I bestow on you the title of Taxpayer in good standing. I'd suggest you frame it, hang it in a place of honour.
But I'm sadly unable to do it. I can only hang Millie's painting. And with that, I believe we're done for now. Feel free to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and let me know if there was anything you missed or anything else you think I should have mentioned. Also, thank you very much for watching, special thanks to my supporters on YouTube and Patreon, and until the next video, stay tuned and be good.